So experiment number 2 is basically we are going to analyze and study the behavior of struts. You can call it a column as well with the various end conditions. So we have seen many concepts related to these end conditions of column and struts in the third semester. If you remember those concepts that we have seen in the chapter column study. So I think everybody seen those, but even then, if student may go forgot all the concepts, I will try to make them revise again, so everybody will able to understand what are the things that we need to understand and how this experiment is going to be performed. So let's see. So if you see here of objectives of this particular experiment, you will able to understand what is column and struts. Uh, so basically, if you go a journal term, we call it as strut. If strut is a vertical member, in that we call it strut that is a vertical, which considered to be column. If it is horizontal strut, we can call it as beam. If it is any angle inclined somewhere 30-45 degree angle, whatever it is, it called generally for a truss component. So depending upon its position, whether it is a vertical strut, in that case we call it as column. If it is horizontal, or you can say horizontal structure component of truss, that we consider as beam, and if it is inclined, we can call it as any cable, like any truss component in that particular case. After completing this experiment, you are able to see what are the end conditions of column, and you will understand how analytically and experimentally things are comparatively. We will see in this particular experiment. So these are the some experiments. So first, before going to the experiment view, how this experiment we can perform it, what are the things need to keep in your mind. Before that, I always focus on the conceptual thing that we need to understand first, then we will move to the experimental part, the way we need to perform that experiment. So if you see, this is a fixed, both side fixed condition case in which we have a column, or you can say a vertical strut. If you call it a column, in that do no need to say it's a vertical column itself as a vertical column, vertical member. If you call it as a strut, in that case you have to mention it's a vertical strut, so that considered to be a column only, fine. So this condition belongs to both side end, or you can say it's a both end fixed case. So this is the first end condition. This is one end hinge, other is fixed. So one end fixed. This is this end is from the bottom side. If you see, this is a fixed end, and from top side, if it is a hinged case. And then third case condition, you can say this is your both side pinned case or both hinged case. And the last but not the least, it is a one end fixed, other is free. These are the four conditions. I think everybody known these things. One is both end fixed, other is one end fixed, other hinge, both end hinge, and one is one end hinge and other is free. So these are the conditions that we have seen in the theory part as well, and we are going to perform their analytical and experimental way, how they are going to perform deflect, and we'll try to draw the deflected shape on the graph after applying the load on the column depending upon their conditions. So if you see, after applying the load P, that is a deflected shape which is going to be made here. Fine. That's how it's going to be deflected, because the fixed end will not allow to deflect from the start end or where the column is fixed. Fine. So it will be deflection will be somewhere away from the fixed end. So that we already seen many times. If you say in this case, as we already know about, because fixed end is not allowing any slope or any deflection, that's why there is deflection slope at the fixed end, both side is zero. But in the case of hinge is allow the rotation, in it means there will be some angle theta will happen, so that's why deflection will start from the starting point or at the just near the joint. So that's how the deflected shape in the case of one end fixed and hinge under the load P applied. Then third case, both end hinge. If you see in this category, what you are going to see here, it's going to deflect from end to end. So that's how it's going to deflect when it comes under the load P. If you say in this particular case, that's how it can deflect, because there is no deflection in taken place on the fixed end, but due to this free end, we are supposed, so it's a length, that effective length we are going to calculate, that is generally twice of the original length. So these are the end condition and their deflected shape. I hope it's clear to all. It's not that complicated, because everybody go through this on many times. So basically that thing is basically happen a buckling condition. So these are the buckling shape, or buckling shapes means that due to this buckling load, or that load is applied, that shape is going to be distorted, or you can say these are the elastic curve or deflected shape which is going to be represented. If this happened only in the case of elastic structure, if it is not elastic behavior, in that case might be this kind of deflection will not able to see in a practical, because our structures are basically component of RCC, they will not show that kind of exerted shape of deflection. So that will be a very little or limited. That kind of deflection is not be available in a practical way. This is just for understanding. That's how just these are the things which is mentioned here. If you go to the experimental view, some of the things we need to see before that going to the experiment, how need to perform. First of all, this is the apparatus. This is a complete set which is mounted on the table. That is the apparatus that we need to require. A graph paper is we need to put below backside of these strips, and we have the loads. These are the weights we required to put the weight over it, and it will going to deflect. So that deflected shape we have to draw by using the pencil or any other marking thing. You can use that and draw the graph over the graph paper, or deflected shape over the graph paper. So these are the columns. So this is a very simple experiment to perform. Again, then there is no complication. There are the strips that we need to put. There are different end conditions are there. One, as I just told you, one both side fixed, other is one hinge, other fixed, then both hinge, then we have one end fixed, other free. So these are the some end condition we need to put here, and put the graph backside these strips and apply the load over it. And once the load will applied, it might get deformed depending upon their capacity, because every as we know, load carrying capacity or buckling जो load निकालते हैं, crippling load or buckling load basically is coming around due to the value depend upon the its effective length. Because if you remember Ilver's formula, that is pi square EI by LE square. Pi square EI by LE square. LE square is nothing but your effective length, which is nothing but effective length is equal depend upon the end conditions, whether it's a fixed, both side fixed and one side fixed, other hinge, and then kind of all the conditions depending effective length depend upon the end conditions of the column. According to that, we need to find first of all effective length, put into the relation, and then you are able to solve the values. So these are the apparatus we need to require. So this is the relation which I'm just talking about. If you see buckling load, basically before going to the buckling load, we need to understand what are the reasons, or what are the condition in which column may fail. So many times, many people have idea about we have three kind of columns basically, depending upon their length versus its cross section. Like if it's a circular, we are cross section is diameter only in the case of a circular. If it is a rectangle, then there will be width or depth, whatever. So with the relation, we have a long column, medium column, and short column. So basically column is considered to be, a column is a member which having a length or a height is more than its other two dimensions. So that's why this is considered to be column part. Fine. Medium and short column and long column. Before going to the long or beam, there is a slenderness ratio part that we have already seen. 12 se zyada ya kam, but there are different ways to get this. This is a long column or short column. So I am just talking about what are the conditions. They are liable to the liable to the cause of failure basically. Like if a long column, primary cause of failure of that column may be a buckling only. There is no crushing will happen, because if there is a two conditions, one is a crushing of the column. Crushing of the column is crushing of column material. One is buckling of the column. If their column is long, in that case buckling is a prior cause of the failure, because crushing will not take place for the small load. the failure, there are two causes. Again, I'm speaking to you. One is crushing, other is buckling. Depending upon its length or effective length prior, on that, it's their behavior we are going to see. If it is a long column, prior cause to be failure of that column will be buckling only. Medium is there, in that case we can say that can be failed due to the buckling and crushing both. And if it is short column, it is going to be failed due to the crushing only. Buckling will not take place. So we are not, and buckling can be happen in x and y ordinates in that direction which we have a smaller size, the smaller cross section. In that case, buckling will take place on that side, not for the stronger side or heavier side. The cross section or moment of inertia which side shows more, there buckling will not take place. Buckling is only take place where we have least lateral dimension. Fine. Least lateral dimension out of the two means a width or depth may be cross section based. If it is least lateral dimension is less out of these two, and we are going to calculate the moment of inertia from there. If get a lesser value, we are going to put that value. So we are going to basically there are two ways to fail. One is the least one, other is a higher value. Column will not take weight for the reach to the higher value. If there is a two cause, suppose one failure is going to happen at 5 kilonewton, other is 7.5. Fine. So failure is going to be happen on 5 only. It's not going to reach to the 7.5 other side. So it only going to be fail at lower load conditions. So that will be our crippling load condition, and where we are going to calculate the strength of that. So the failure of long column will happen primarily due to buckling. Medium column which having failure can be due to buckling as well as crushing, and the short column is only failed due to the crushing only. So these are the things we need to keep in your mind. So that part is the theoretical fundamental. Now we have to see the relation that we need to use analytically to find out the buckling load or crippling load or crushing load, generally you can call it. So there is a relation. This again, Euler's formula have again some limitation. It's only applicable for the long column. It's not for medium and short column. Again, there is a theory Rankine formula. Maybe you are aware about it. There is a different relation that can be applicable for each and every conditions of the column, either it is a long, short, or medium. So buckling load, which is given by Euler's itself. So this relation is only applicable for long column. So P is equal to pi square EI is the Young modulus of elasticity of the material for that column is made of. I is the moment of inertia. That is very simple to calculate. If it's a rectangle body, it's a BD cube by 12. It's a circular. In that case, pi d 4 by 64. In that case, you can calculate. Then we have to find out L is square. L effective need to find first of all, depending upon the end condition. So after getting all the values, you need to put into this relation, and you will get the value of load at which your column is going to be filled. So these are the end conditions that we need to understand before solving the relation that we just seen. Depending upon the support conditions, we can calculate the effective length. So if both ends are fixed, in that case, LE, that is the effective length of the column over which that deflected shape is representing. Actually, fine. So the deflection is taken place on this effective length only. So that will be equal to half of the original length. Whatever the length we have end to end, we are going to see effective length will equal to effective length actually is the point in between where the deflection, the point in between where the curvature of or deflective shape is going to be generated. That is the length only. So length by 2 means original length we have to measure first. If it is 3, then divide by 2, it's coming out to be 1.5 only. So that's how you can calculate. Then if one end is fixed, other pinned, in that case, L effective equal to original length by under the root by 2. That is the relation. You can find it from there as well. Both ends pinned, in that case, because deflection is taking from end to end. In that case, original length equal to the effective length only. So in that case, that will be same. So one end fixed, other is free. In that case, deflection can takes place on complete length twice, because it can be moved to the downward side also. So that's why if you can consider yourself, take a pen or refill, hold it in your in between your fingers and try to rotate it. You will find it's almost all length is going to be double. Generally, it's not happen, but for being understandable analytical fundamental that we just seen from the many times, so that will equal to 2L in that case. So that these are the end condition we need to identify first, calculate values, and then put into the relation where we need to find the analytical value of buckling or crippling load that we require. So now let's see the experiment, how to perform it. Very simple experiment. So first see, and parallel I will explain each and everything, whatever the things. So that's how, first of all, you need to put the graph paper behind the these strips. These are the column strips. So as you can see, this and this is the fixed, this is the strip, and bottom side also this is a fixed one. One side fixed, other is hinge condition. Both side hinge condition. Because you are not able to see in this particular, one side fixed, other is free. There is no restriction against that particular. So now you need to put 1 kg load, but according to the capacity, as you can see, fixed spot is not going to be, or that column is not going to be deflect. As I am increasing the load continuously, you will see that shape has been changed. So now by using pencil, hold the graph and you can draw the deflected shape of the column. That's how you can draw. Now remove the load, put on to the other. I will explain very detailed thing here. I want to put some light on this particular. So let me draw first and see this video complete first. Then I will let you know about these particulars. What are the technicalities behind these things. So then for third case, as you can see now, the deflection is takes place for complete end to end. So many times you make a mistake, like now I just seen, I just did, due to my hand weight, it's just moved. Fine. If you see there is a deflection, that's how this is the one end fixed, other is free. So now take out the graph, you just draw the lines over it, and that is a both hand fixed case. First you can see the sheet, one end, both hand pinned, then you have one fixed, other pinned, and last but not the least, that is again one fixed and other free. So if you write into the observation sheet, these are the conditions we have to see, end conditions both, and whatever the end condition, we just write from there. You have to written here, and observed load at which its deflection is taken place. You need to calculate theoretical values. Just you have to use the relation and calculate those. So in this calculation, I just not shown all the calculation here. I just consider the end conditions and load at which deflection is take place. So one end fixed, other pinned. One fixed, other free. So it's not compulsory that you need to take it on the right way, like on a serial order. You can take one after other. Maybe you can take one last one first, or second one third, whatever you want. It's a not compulsory thing to take them on a series. So that's it. We need to note it down all the values. Relation, by using analytical relation, you have to calculate all the values and compare the loads, whether the load is coming, they are equal or not. That's the way. And now last thing, the result is nothing but you have to plot the graph that we just plot using the pencil, or by putting the weight over the head of the column, and draw the deflected shape on a graph. The thing that I just want to tell you, that if you see in the both the condition here, let me show you again, you will find some difference. What I want to say this. So I think you can see, for deflection of this fixed end beam, I need to apply 3 kilonewton. And for the furthermore, all the cases, I approximately apply 1 kg load, and you find the deflection instantly. There is no such resistance against that load. Fine. Now you can see how it's going to be deflect. Easily it's going to deflect. Depending on the end condition, stability also ensured. Here, if you see, might be, it's a not a unstable condition, it's a stable condition, but fixed end and the end which having one end fixed, other is hinged, you find a lot of difference of load carrying capacity and their deflection also. In this case, I have put I need to put 3 kilonewton and 3 kg, sorry. For this case, I just put a 1 kg load, and you find that there is a huge deflection which is taken place for a 1 kg. Even you can find it, there is a difference of 3 times load carrying capacity. It can carry a 3 kg load depending upon its end condition. Here, if you find there is a only, I just put a 1 kilonewton load and it's just deflected. So that's why majorly you find many time frame structures. Those are constructed in hospitals, schools, colleges. They are generally columns are beams or columns are fixed itself. So we are not going to construct them uh, like pinned or any other kind of support system. So that is one of the reason to go there. That's why almost all the structure indeterminate. Fine. So indeterminacy is not a point to concern. We can calculate even after its analytical analysis we can calculate unknown forces if it is indeterminate. In it's a indeterminacy is a for theoretical fundamental, it's looking good. Otherwise if you see each and everything that we have in the practical examples, any structure you can find, mostly they are indeterminate. Reason being, indeterminate structures are more stable compared to determinate structure, and they have more load carrying capacity compared to the other, with showing lesser deflection. If you put same load, you will find not, deflection will not take place. Just you have seen in this video, for 1 kg fixed and will not show any deflection, and the other cases just I put the 1 kg load and you find there is a deflection has been taken place, and that is very diverse. So not a small deflection which is taken place. Almost strips have almost having cross section same, moment of inertia almost coming out to be same. In that case, they must be same. Otherwise, you are not going to compare by the end conditions. If you change the end condition, what is the load carrying capacity changing? Yes, it will change because effective length is also changing. Effective length is the length which is showing the deflected shape between those 2 points. So that's all about this experiment. I hope I explain each and every thing that I just required to explain. If anything addition to this you want to ask, you can ask. So it's most welcome from my side. Thank you.